Hello everybody, welcome to our presentation. My name is Jim Patterson from Capabilitie, and joining me is Matthew Willey, also from Capabilitie. We'll be telling you more about our company and our offerings later in the presentation. But today we're going to be here for the PSA Virtual Summit, and we will be covering professional services automation, known as PSA, and how it is addressed by Microsoft Dynamics 365 and its project service automation solution. And we'll talk about how this meets the needs of professional services organizations and how an integrated PSA solution can address them and provide significant improvements in performance and to the bottom line. We will also demonstrate the Microsoft Project Service Automation solution in action. But before we get started, we first have a couple quick logistics to go over with you. First off, we will not be opening up the line for questions. All lines will be muted during the webinar. However, we will answer questions that are captured in the chat and question panel throughout today's presentation, should you have any. You can also feel free to email us directly, and we'll be happy to answer your questions as well. We will be giving you our contact information as well as we get through the introductions here shortly at the end of the presentation as well. Also, if for some reason you get distracted or pulled away during the webinar, no need to worry. We will be distributing a recording of today's presentation to all registrants following the webinar. And with that, let's get started and talk about Dynamics 365 and Project Service. Our agenda today is really to give you an overview of the Dynamics 365 platform and the value it provides to the marketplace. And then our focus today is really going to be about the area of Dynamics 365 called professional service automation. We're also then going to talk about non-professional service projects and how normal project portfolio management for other types of projects and work can be accommodated within this platform as well. Time permitting, we may go into a customer case study and then give you a summary and wrap-up of the value proposition and some action items that you can take in next steps with us and with Microsoft. So let's talk about the state of the market today. Industry analysts have said that by 2020 that customer experience will overtake price and product as the key brand differentiator. With us all being mobile today and all being on social networking, our peer-to-peer communications and the assessments and values provided by our peers tends to have more influence in the marketplace than the messaging that we get from the people that actually have the brands. The people that provide the best customer experience for their marketplace are going to be the ones that drive the market and become the leaders in this marketplace by 2020. So the nature of the market is changing and shifting. Also, from a productivity perspective, we are being asked to do more with less and with finite resources, and we have to maximize worker productivity if we want to scale. One of the key things that is a hindrance to that is task switching. By people being in a variety of different tools and spreadsheets to get their normal work done, and switching between those solutions, tools, and tasks costs the global economy an estimated $450 billion per year, or a 40% reduction in productivity. The new solutions and approaches to the marketplace are going to have to address and eat into that loss if we want to maximize our scalability. And also the speed of business. Organizations embracing this new concept called digital transformation, and if they truly embrace this and leverage it in the way that it's intended to maximize returns for a business, can generate $100 million or more of income each year on average if they do this well and transform their business accordingly. So that term digital transformation, even for me, it's been kind of a nebulous term over the years. You know, what exactly does digital transformation mean? And it's not just technology. It's really about businesses embracing the digital wave and reimagining their businesses and their approaches and how we can get to our customers and provide an experience for our customers that differentiate us from the rest and leverage those in ways that are innovative. And the idea is that digital transformation should be ways that improve our ability to engage our customers, to empower our employees to better serve those customers and do it in an effective manner, to be able to optimize and streamline our operations, eliminate waste and make throughput efficient, and also just to be able to transform our products and our services so as we go to market, they are delivered in a way that is modern and generates the returns and maximizes the opportunities the marketplace presents to us. So with Microsoft, this new Dynamics 365 platform really has taken away that artificial barrier that's always existed between customer relationship management, CRM, or ERP, enterprise resource planning, in the different solutions. And what Microsoft has done is really combine all of these capabilities into the Microsoft Dynamics 365 platform. If you look at all the different areas or point solutions that are available to it, from sales automation, customer service, operations, marketing, field service, project service automation, all of these different point solutions are actually solutions that are built off of a common Microsoft Dynamics 365 platform, meaning there's availability to take advantage of certain point solutions if you have that particular need, but also grow into a one Microsoft model with a single one data source and a single platform of which you can actually operate your entire business. So the Dynamics 365 advantage out there for companies wanting to consolidate these capabilities within a platform is that it is purpose-built. And when I talk about purpose-built, I'm really referring back to those point solutions that I mentioned earlier on. You don't have to buy into the whole platform and the whole vision in order to get value. You can actually start with what you need and grow at your own pace. For example, the project service automation solution that we're going to be talking about today. That may be your entree point to the platform, and you may go into field service for work order management and meeting the needs of your field as they go out and service your customer base out there. Move into Salesforce automation, customer service, call desk, those types of things. The idea is that you can grow into the things as you need them and even replace things that you're currently doing in point solutions that may be on various different platforms. Also, you can become more productive. This one Microsoft message, folks that are using Microsoft Office and other tools and now have moved into, say, Office 365 with the cloud version of those tools. These are tools that have been familiar to us all over the years, and we've become very productive and comfortable in there. What Dynamics 365 does is help you automate a business process in which those tools become in context of the tasks that you're doing, whether it's you're fielding a call from a customer, or you're managing a project, or communicating with your project team in the context of fulfilling on a project. These familiar tools can be leveraged in context of the Dynamics 365 solutions like project service automation so that we can become productive and we can adopt these things quickly with tools that are familiar and that we become proficient with over the years. Also, intelligence in these solutions. All the things that Microsoft's building into the cloud solutions, whether it be Cortana intelligence to maybe help be more predictive and giving us options on how we might serve a customer in a certain situation, whether it be the Internet of Things that gives us data on when certain things are broken so that we can use things like field service to go out and fix them on an automated basis, or Azure machine learning to help us be more predictive and actually give us feedback and optimize the way we do things, the way we interact with the marketplace. These are things that are built into this whole Microsoft Cloud platform of which Dynamics 365 takes advantage of. And then from an adaptable perspective, be able to grow and evolve and transform with a modern extensible platform. Things like Power Apps, things like Microsoft Flow give the ability to build automated work processes and also tailor the user experience for your industry, for your company, in the way that you do business rather than trying to fit you to a particular platform. Not only can you grow with different applications and solutions through this platform, but you can also grow and refine it as you optimize your processes and mature in your processes and your capabilities and deliver to the customer. So from a digital transformation perspective, Dynamics 365 is really meant to hit all of these areas in helping you improve your operations and optimize opportunity and ultimately have tangible effects to the bottom line. So Dynamics 365 is really an intelligent business application platform in the cloud. It's a one Microsoft data platform, has a number of different point solutions available to it, and it works very closely in alignment with Office 365 and the rest of the Microsoft productivity tools like Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Skype, all the things that we use to communicate and do business with and be productive. Also, it leverages things like Power BI from a reporting and analytics and dashboarding perspective. And as we talked about as well, the intelligence things that are being added into the Microsoft Cloud offering. But today, Dynamics 365 is a broad topic, and we'll have a number of different events and webinars like this to cover different certain point solutions. But today our focus is really going to be on this project service automation and how do we deliver project management capability that's effective for our organization in delivering projects, both from a professional services perspective and from an other projects and other type of work perspective. I will say this, from a project service focus, it's not as narrow as you would think. There's services work and services projects being performed across all types of industries and even across all types of different departmental functions within large corporations, whether it be management consulting services, marketing and advertising, PR services, sales support services, staffing services. It goes on through it. Even the legal profession is getting more project management oriented in its nature, being asked to do more fixed price type of work in certain types of legal work. So the idea is it's not open season with a blank checkbook to do billable time and materials work in this services world. So let's talk about what that means for PSA, or professional services automation as a discipline. So what is professional service automation? Well, it's really a software solution designed to assist services professionals with project management and resource management for client-facing projects. And that could be internal or external-facing clients, but that's a generally high-level definition of what it does. And what capabilities does it deliver? Well, at a high level, it's really about opportunity management. Services businesses tend to put out statements of work and proposals and track opportunities out there of what potential business or projects they may have. And really their projects tend to pick them. Customers tend to say yes, enter into a contract, and those contracts become projects that we have to fulfill on based upon the terms of that contract. Through that, we have to deploy resources and labor against those services projects and do it in a fashion that not only delivers quality, but also does it in a way that's profitable for the organization. In addition, there's all kinds of documentation and collaboration, whether it be process documentation or deliverables documentation, and all the collaboration of team and collaboration with customer that has to happen through that entire process. There's also time reporting and expense tracking, since in services businesses that tends to be reimbursable and billable. And we need to capture those effectively and turn those around so that we don't leave money on the table. And also from an invoicing and billing perspective, ultimately those things have to be invoiced and billed and tracked. So a PSA solution would enable from end to end, from that initial lead or opportunity through contract management all the way through executing and billing it and recognizing that as revenue. So why is this important? Well, the age of the customer, like we talked about earlier on, and you look in the upper right here, is really where we're going as a marketplace, and what's going to differentiate the leaders from the followers and the ones that actually don't survive in this marketplace. Over the eras of our company's industry history, our country's industry history, the age of manufacturing with assembly lines and automated processing of manufacturing really differentiated the leaders in the auto industry and other industries, for example. Then the age of distribution took over, and who became the leaders were the ones that mastered this discipline of how to best get these things and most effectively and most cheaply to their customers. And then the age of information, being able to provide connected PC and supply chains in the ERP world. Those who kind of mastered that discipline then became the next wave of leaders in the marketplace. And now, as we're seeing things transform with the way we talked about in the age of socialization and mobility, the age of the customer is more intelligent, more informed, is going to drive the success of our companies. So what kind of service market trends and challenges are we seeing in this marketplace? There's all kinds of them that are driving the need for solutions like this. We are now an economy of project-based, people-centric services businesses. We are more of a service economy than we've ever been before. So services projects are very plentiful out there. Also, as I mentioned, the clients who consume and buy these services are more savvy, more educated, and are demanding greater predictability and accountability and want to know the value for every dollar of their services spend that we have out there. We need to be able to provide that justification to them. Also, there's globalization with customers around the world. Teams that we use to deliver are scattered all over the world, but yet we're centralizing common functions from a shared services perspective. And we're constantly modernizing and streamlining operations and trying to do more with less. We also have a diverse workforce across a variety of generations and cultures, and we have to be able to have a platform and a forum for us to be able to communicate effectively and deliver on these projects. Also, more than half of services projects today are now fixed fee in time, meaning we as service providers are taking on the risk, and if we don't manage these projects effectively, we can quickly go from a profitable engagement to a loss or a losing engagement in very short order. And ultimately what we're seeing out there, even though solutions have been out there for a long time, most companies are managing this services market with a hodgepodge of point solutions, spreadsheets, and email, and really don't have a cohesive approach to getting this done from end to end. The impact of these disconnected processes and systems, if we have a handful of different systems that we're using to manage different aspects of this, different spreadsheets and documents that are scattered around the organization, it ultimately puts artificial barriers and walls between us, both internally for our teams and between our customers, and results in these things. And I won't read the litany of these, but things like low response times, ineffective ways of working, frustrated workers and high turnover, no consistent processes. These kind of things are the byproducts of not tackling this and doing it in an effective way. And it really impacts everybody's role in the professional services organization, whether it be the practice director who is really responsible to see that the practice is profitable and the customers are satisfied, to the resource manager who needs to understand how can I possibly staff all these projects and still keep my team happy and not overload them, from a project management organization who needs to make sure the projects are on track and on budget, meeting revenue goals, and got to report all this up to leadership. And then the team members, the resources on these things, need to ensure that their customer is happy and they meet things like their utilization targets and things like that. The key here is that solutions like PSA really help drive or enable a road to process maturity from a professional services perspective. And this is not unlike maturity models you've seen for other industries and other aspects like software development, for example, or project management in general. And we don't have the time today to go into this in detail, but from a level 1, which is more ad hoc and heroic and firefighting, all the way through collaborative excellence at level 5, the increased path through these levels of maturity will actually have tangible benefits to the bottom line. The SPI research analysis found that the top 5%, the best of the best, the ones in that level 5 or collaborative excellence area, show an average of 31% profits on their professional services, as opposed to a 2% loss on average for level 1 and level 2, which are the bottom 55. There are real profit gains and financial motivations to getting better and more mature at this function. And even if you look at it in more detail, whether it be improving across each of these maturity levels, whether it be bid to win ratios, improving those, deal pipeline relative to meeting your quarterly bookings forecast, billable utilization, projects delivered on time, etc., profit margin. These things all improve as you go through and get better at these processes and do things in a more succinct and cohesive manner. So transformative service with project service automation. Project service automation is Microsoft Dynamics' point solution to address this services market. And it's an end-to-end solution that extends Microsoft Dynamics 365 to provide a single system of customer engagement for project sales, resourcing, delivery, and billing. That goes all the way from opportunity management, all the way through managing those things that become projects that we win, the resource management, collaboration, time and expenses, customer billing, and all the analytics and integration and reporting around that, all through that process. So what we end up with is all the different project management capabilities that are needed to specifically address the unique needs of services organizations, whether it be getting portfolio visibility and management into all of the work that's going on in the organization, whether it be looking at resource allocation and being able to manage capacity and delivering the right resources at the right time on your projects, whether it be schedule management to manage the deliverables and the things that we are expected to perform in certain timeframes for our customers and our clients, all the collaboration, the time and expense management, and then ultimately with one solution building big rich sets of data, the business intelligence around that, the analytics, the reporting, the dashboarding becomes a natural output of that process without having to go through what I like to call the data gymnastics that people go through to compile these when you have disconnected processes and systems. And it really has benefits for everybody in the process. As I had mentioned, the COO and the practice director gets value out of this. And one thing we didn't really mention, the account manager, the person responsible for the customer relationship, right? Being able to have visibility in how we're delivering on projects, where we're at with the opportunities to maximize value for with our customers, and all those types of things they need to do to manage every dimension of that account relationship, as well as the obvious ones of the project managers and resource managers and the team members, and even offering collaborative capability to the end customer so they feel part of the process can be done now that this is mobile, in the cloud, and has global reach, and is leveraging tools and technologies of business productivity tools like you see down below, samples of the Microsoft Office suite. And it doesn't really just stop there. You know, you can look at this just as a true professional services project solution, but we can also extend this to project and portfolio management for other types of projects and work, whether it be IT or other aspects of the business. So where is project and portfolio management, or PPM, different than PSA? Well, at the high level, it's the practices of identifying, selecting, and managing a portfolio of projects that aligns to strategic objectives and that honors your ability to deliver resources to those projects. But I think the high-level difference here is where in the professional services, our projects were actually picking us. Our customers were actually saying yes to the opportunities and contracts, and those became projects. In PPM, often you have a whole array of ideas and requests, and you have to prioritize which ones are the best aligned with our business, which provide the best value for us, and which are the things that are going to advance the ball for us in getting our companies to where they want to be. So in essence, we're picking the projects that we're going to deliver in a PPM environment. And that includes executive alignment on strategy to make sure that what we're doing aligns with where the organization is going as a whole, management of risks and resources to factor into our decision-making process, investment guidance on things like return on investment and internal rates of return, and also just quick objective decision-making. What are the parameters that we need as a company? What's important to us to help us determine between a bunch of alternatives which are the right ones for us to work on? And just like we talked about before about the age of the customer, what's driving the need to have these other types of projects and other methods of working is that we're all becoming digital companies. You know, former brick and mortar companies like Woolworths are now being driven in the marketplace by companies like Amazon. Blockbuster Video became Netflix for us. You know, the old taxi and transportation modes have become Uber. Even soft drinks are being bought digitally now, even in fast food restaurants. The idea is we're delivering things quicker. The pace of change and the technology aspect of this is becoming more and more pervasive and affects everyone and every role in the process. And because of that, the pace of change is getting more rapid, where in the past, in the yesteryear, you used to be able to have more predictive, steady-as-she-goes types of projects. The pace of change means you have to respond to that change in order to be relevant in the marketplace and to meet the needs and maintain your leadership role in your industry. And the idea, we have to have methods that help us respond to that change and be more nimble. To that end, we really have to have a smart innovation strategy. We need to have innovation to make sure that we're staying current and relevant from a technology and innovation perspective. We have to have alignment with our organization's goals, and we have to execute effectively with the resources we have. I won't go into this in detail given the time we have, but ultimately the message here is that most organizations, or the majority of organizations, are not really focused or doing as well as they can in those three major areas, even though the net result is significant higher compound annual growth rates and financial results for companies that do embrace these things. And the idea, sometimes it's because there is not an ability to tie these things together in a good way and inject these things into the process, is why we don't get the results that we're looking for. And so project and portfolio management adds that alignment, execution, and collaboration piece to the project management mix. What I will say is that more and more in the technology realm, people are using agile approaches to project management. And so the traditional waterfall or PPM types of approaches, while they have a place for certain projects, in the more technology-driven world, more agile approaches are taking hold. And Gartner coined the bimodal IT phrase, with mode 1 being the traditional waterfall PPM governance model, and mode 2 being more of that agile approach using things like Agile, Scrum, Lean, and Kanban. And the idea is that we really need to make both of these methods and the aspects of these methods work together in harmony where appropriate, and they're not an either or in all cases. So having unified portfolios that allow you to do different types of traditional projects as well as agile projects within the same solutions and provide visibility to leadership on those investments is important in today's world, because that's the reality of the way business is being done. So with transformative PPM with project service, we can get all those capabilities we're looking at, but on the front end, on the demand management side, it's really about fielding requests and valuing different requests and ideas that come in and determining what are the best roads to go from a portfolio management and selection perspective. And then we can execute on those things and take into account things like the financial impacts and the benefits to the organization, as well as then execute in the traditional project and resource management realm. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to Matthew Willey, who is going to demonstrate the capabilities that we're talking about here today and show it to you in action. Perfect. Matthew, can you grab the controls?
Good to go. Perfect. Thank you very much, Tim. All right. So jumping on into the demo side of things, we're logged in here into Dynamics 365. If I pop open my navigation, you can see here there are many different modules that you can utilize within Dynamics 365. And the idea is that we can take a customer all the way from the very beginning of the process, starting with marketing and such, all the way to the very end of the process, even collecting feedback from those different customers. Now, these can be internal and external customers. It's not always just external. In the professional services case, it's generally external customers that we're servicing. If we were using this, say, for IT PPM, they would be more internal customers that the IT organization is servicing internally, right? And you can choose to use different of these modules depending on which ones you want. You don't have to install them all like I have them here in my demo environment. You can pick and choose the ones that make sense for your use case in the organization, and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Cool. Today we're going to focus on the project service module here and show you all the different capabilities that Jim was just talking about, both from a professional services demo kind of use case flow, as well as more of just a standard project portfolio management flow as well. So starting with the professional services flow, let's go ahead and jump on into it. So where we usually start here is at the opportunity. So our sales team, our account executives, our business development team is working on different opportunities with both new as well as existing customers. And those opportunities at some point are going to be won, and that's going to mean that we're going to have to do something for this customer. We're going to have to kick off a project and go and then deliver whatever it is that they purchased. And so the way that that works is I'll go ahead and pop into an opportunity here, like my Chic CRM opportunity. And within this particular opportunity, we have lots of information that you generally would expect. Who's the main contact for this opportunity? What account is it related to? Who's the account manager? Those types of things, size of the account. But beyond that, what we can start to do is we can generate quotes. And so if I come here, I'm going to pop into one of the quotes that I've generated as the account executive of this particular customer for this particular opportunity. And we can start to generate this quote. And the quotes can have both project-based lines, which is really like the services work that you're going to be doing for them, which would either be fixed fee or it'd be time and materials or something like that. You can also include, though, product-based lines. So if there's licenses that you're selling or actual physical hardware, software, products, whatever it might be, any type of thing that you're selling that's more of a product, you can account for those within the quote as well. That all rolls up, gives me the total amount for the quote. And once that quote is won, or if it's won, then that's going to kick it off and allow, kick off a project that we're going to now get into. Behind this, there's ways to go in and do some what if scenarios to try to boost your margin. What if we get developers at a lower rate? And what if we do this? What if we do that? Those different types of things. And so you can really start to get really good at your quotes and make sure that these are going to end up being profitable for you long term, right? So once this quote is accepted by the customer and that opportunity is one, what that really does is it kicks off a project. So that takes me now into the projects area. And so here we see a list of all of our different projects and what stage they're in and how those projects are doing, so on and so forth. And we can now come in and now that this new project's been kicked off, I can start to plan it. So kind of switching hats, I'm now a project manager. I've been assigned to this particular project. I'm going to come in, review that contract that came from that quote we were just looking at, and then I'm going to start to build out the plan. So let's go ahead and jump on into a project, that same project that we were looking at earlier that was just one. One of the very first things I might do when I come into the project is I'm going to build out my work breakdown structure. Basically, at a high level, what are the types of things that we need to do to complete this project and deliver what we need to deliver to the customer, right? So I can come in and I'll click on my work breakdown structure here, or otherwise known as a project schedule. And you can see we have some different phases of our project, and there's some different tasks and or milestones that we need to complete to be able to do this project. And we can make that as detailed or as high level as needed depending on the type of the project. There are also project templates that you can leverage, so we don't have to go and build this from scratch every time. If we're doing similar types of projects over and over again, when we kick it off, we can use that template and utilize some best practices that we've developed for those types of projects over time. If you have more seasoned project managers that are familiar with Microsoft Project and like using Microsoft Project and all the bells and whistles and the great powerful tools within Microsoft Project, you can absolutely use that as well. In fact, it comes with the licensing, which is really great. And there's an add-in here that allows you to connect up to Dynamics Project Service, which is what we're looking at today. And I can then publish this project schedule into Dynamics. And either way, you get the same result. It's more of just which tool are you more comfortable with using. The online planner here is very light and has some of the core kind of key project management schedule features you might want, whereas you can use Microsoft Project if you're looking for something a little bit more robust from a schedule management perspective. So then you hit File, Publish. That pushes everything back on in. And from there, you'll have your schedule ready to go. At that point, I can then say, generate my project team. And when I generate my project team, it's going to take either these generic resources that I've signed here, or if you already knew which named people, like Matthew Willie would be working on my particular project, you could have put those in there as well. If you're in smaller teams, you may already know who's going to be working on your project. In larger organizations and larger teams, you may just start with a generic placeholder, and then a resource manager or department manager or someone later on may fulfill that and say, here you go, here's your developer, for example, that you asked for. So what I do is I hit Generate Project Team, and I'm going to now pop over into my project team that it just created for me. And this really becomes my high-level resource plan. This is showing the different resources that I'm going to need for this particular project. In this case here, I've already fulfilled some of them, so I have some named people here, like Francine, for example, but I also have some generic placeholders that I haven't yet got fulfilled. So I need to stop this project before we can start working on it, so let's go ahead and do that. So one thing that I could do is I could come here and I could select all these resources and say Submit Request. That will route the request to the proper resource manager. They will then go and see who's available and assign the proper resource, with the right skills and so on and so forth to my particular project. Or in some organizations, it may be up to the project manager to go find resources with the right skills who are available. Either way, it's going to look the same way, and I'm going to show you how that looks and works right now. It just could be a different person who might be doing that. So to go and see who's available with the right skill set and such, I'm going to select my generic developer here, and I'm going to click on Hardbook. That's going to pop open my availability view, and from here what it does is it shows me all of my developers. It already filtered down and is just showing me developers now. I could come in and change that if I wanted to open it up a little bit more, but I'm just looking at developers here, and I can see who's available and who's not based off of the color coding. If they're red, they're not available in that period of time. If they don't have anything, then that means they don't have any work. We need to get them some work, so they're good candidates. And it even accounts for things like vacation time. You can see vacation time is going to show up as purple here within this particular calendar. So from there, if I choose to do so, I can narrow this down a little bit more, and I could come in and say, for example, I just want to see developers with .NET skills. And you can even have levels of skills like familiar, good, proficient, et cetera, that type of a thing. So now I filtered it down a little bit more. Here are all of my .NET developers. If I hover over one of the people here, I can then see all of their other skills and how good they are at each one. I can see how much availability they have, what's their target utilization for this particular period of time, and even some cost information, so I can try to use resources of lower cost, which will help drive more margin and or keep my project on budget, on track, right? So from there, I come in, find the right resource. Maybe Marianne here is the right one. Select Marianne and say book, and that's going to go and switch out that generic developer with Marianne. That's going to give me the resource, whether it was a resource manager or a department manager or the project manager doing that, depending on who you give permissions to do so. You would be able to then go and fulfill that resource, and now you're ready to rock on your particular project. Cool. So kind of switching gears then, now imagine I'm more of the team member. I'm the person who just got assigned to that particular project, right? And I need to come in and I need to understand what I need to be working on and update my status and put in my time at the end of the week and, those types of things. So we're going to take a look at, kind of the team member's perspective on the system for now. So I'm going to go into my bookings and tasks. I would have also got a notification, by the way, that says, hey, you've been assigned to this particular project, and here's the task that you're working on, that type of a thing. And then when I come into my bookings and tasks here, I'll see that I was booked to work on a project, this eCube project, for example, for this period of time, and you can see how much time I'm supposed to spend on each day for this week and such. And below that then are the different tasks for that project that I'm supposed to be working on. So I can come in here and I can look at those tasks, and right through here I can update my % complete or my remaining hours or my status and put in any notes and those types of things. And as I do that, all that information excuse me, is going to flow back into the project and back to the project manager, so they can then see that status flowing in. So as a project manager, I don't always have to go out and say, what's the status, and always trying to chase people down. The system helps facilitate that process, and then you only have to go get on their case if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing through the system. Cool. So from there, at the end of the week then, I may need to put in my time for all the different work that I've been working on. So I'll pop into my timesheet here. And there's kind of this nice calendar view within the timesheet that allows me to very quickly come in and enter my time and say which project I worked on and which task, and so on and so forth, and fill out a little information, fill out my timesheet that way. There's a grid view if you want more of kind of a traditional looking timesheet type of view, as well as there's an import, which allows me to actually import from my Outlook calendar. So if a lot of the time that you've spent working on these different projects and tasks and admin time and et cetera is all in your calendar, you can just import it from there. That gives you a really good starting place. You may need to add a couple other things, but it gets you most of the way there, makes it really quick and easy to get in your time. As we all know, it's always difficult to get people to put in their time, so trying to make that easier for them so we don't have to chase them down as much is a great thing to be able to do. So from there, if you have expenses, you can also track those. So I can pop into my expenses real quick. I traveled on a particular trip, and I put in some different expenses here into my expense report, meals, hotels, travel, any other types of expenses, personal expenses that I need to get reimbursed for, or we just need to track for invoicing purposes. We can track those here as well right within the system, and that all flows back onto the project as well. So team member can go put in their status updates, track time and expenses. And now switching back to the project manager's view of things, let's go take a look at, as that information flows back in, how can we see that flowing back in, keep our thumb on the status and understand how things are going and make sure we're keeping this project on track. So I'm going to jump into a project here, which is my VoIP phones project. This is an in-progress project that's been going on for a little bit. And I can see here, we originally estimated we were going to spend 230 hours on this particular project. Actual hours that we've spent so far coming from those timesheets we just saw is 80 hours flowing in, and we have 138 left. And but we're estimating it's still going to be about 218 more hours to actually finish the project. So that's a little bit of a problem there. The estimates coming back to us are saying it's going to take more time than we originally budgeted. Maybe we're okay with that. Maybe we're not. We can go and try to figure out how to get that back on track. Below that is my cost or my spend progress. So I can see we estimated this much cost. We've actually spent this much. Here's what's remaining, the variance or difference between them, so on and so forth. And our hopes here is that our progress percent is happening quicker than our cost consumption, or at least at the same speed. If we've already spent 75% of the money and we're only 37% of the way done with the project, that's probably a problem, right? So we can start to get visibility into these things as they're happening. If you're using the invoicing capabilities out of Dynamics 365, you'll also see those invoice dollars and revenue dollars and such rolling back in. A lot of people also choose to take that invoice information, send it over via an integration using our integration platform, send that over into a financial system for those invoices to be generated, and then we can take the actual revenue as it's realized and then be able to send that back on into the project here, right? Below, there's also other types of status that we can put in for this project besides just the financials and, kind of number values and such. We can put in narrative around how is this project doing, which will roll into our project status reports that will go up to leadership and possibly our customers, stakeholders, etc. Things like what work was performed this period, what work do we plan for next period, and any other just general comments on the status of this particular project. We can also track risks, issues, and changes around this project. So we can identify the different risks and make people aware of that. If one of those risks happens, if it's realized, then there's a workflow that allows us to convert that risk into an issue. Now we have to go do something to resolve this issue. In order to do that issue, we may have to complete a change request, and that change request could be a change of schedule, of scope, of cost, etc. And so there's a workflow that allows us to then convert that into a change as well if we need to. So there's kind of a flow there through those different things, and approval processes around changes and such all can be configured and set up to match your guys' process internally as well. Then every so often, however often you have to provide your status reports, you come in, you hit this little new button right here, and it's going to basically take a snapshot of all the key information in your project status here. It's going to take a snapshot of that and copy it into the status report so we have a running history of those status reports over time. And then we can even show trend reports showing are we getting better, are we getting worse over time from each week to week or each status report to each status report, depending on when you do those. There's also some graphics down here, cost performance by role, schedule performance by role and such. And this pages and mostly everything we see in this system is configurable. So this is just the way it is out of the box. From here we can tweak it and add things and change things to show the types of information and status that you guys want to see. So it really makes it an open platform for you to be able to do that. So from there I have all this status flowing back in. I update I'm keeping my kind of finger on these projects and understanding how they're doing and managing them to make sure we keep all on track. And all along, you can then have reports and dashboards and visuals into that status from all different perspectives. So what I'm going to do now is, more from a manager perspective, possibly a practice manager, department manager, someone like that. I want to come in and I want to get a better idea of what's going on across all of these different projects that we have going on. So I can come into things like my practice dashboard here and see information around revenue and gross margin over time. Is it going up? Is it going down? Are we making our margin goals? I can see resource information like resource workforce capacity and resource availability, all from one dashboard. If I'm looking for more details on any of these, like for example around resource availability, I can click on those and drill in, and then it's going to allow me to be able to be a little bit more analytical and see a lot more information and get more into the details if I choose to do so. So I can come in, for example, on this dashboard and I can filter it down. Maybe I just want to look at resource availability for my developers. So I can filter it down just for my developers here and just look at that. All the different roles, even get down to an individual resource if I want. And then I can tab through the different tabs here and see things like resource workforce capacity, resource availability. This one's grouped by role. And most, if not all of these, are drill-in dashboards. So if I come here and I click on my support resources, and it'll then drill in and show me each individual support resource instead of the sum of all of them as a whole, and show how available or not each one is. We won't go through all the different reports today, but you can start to see the types of things that you can get out of the system from a reporting perspective. Other dashboards in here, I'll pop into another one right now, like my project portfolio status dashboard. This particular one is going to give me more of an idea of how my projects are doing across, my whole portfolio of projects or multiple portfolios of projects. So if I click into this here and I want to drill in and kind of start getting more information, think of this as kind of my executive summary page of what's going on with all my projects. So here are all my projects. Here's some high-level KPIs like overall status, schedule status, work, et cetera, et cetera. And we can see 3 of our projects are at risk, 14 are over budget, 16 are behind schedule. We have some active risks, overdue issues, lots of different things going on. From there, you can filter this down and you can say, I just want to see projects where overall health is either red or yellow, just my problem projects, right? I could also look at a particular portfolio of projects or a particular type of projects or, projects for a certain project manager, whatever it might be, using those different filters. Once you're looking at the set of projects that you want to look at, you can then drill into all the different types of status and get a little bit more detailed information in those types of status. So for example, I can click into my schedule status tab here. And this particular page is showing me the same projects, but it's showing me more schedule related information like duration variances. How far off are we from what we planned? And you can see the ones that were further off show up here at the top, and we can point those out and start to understand where our problems are. We can see a Gantt or timeline type of a view, possibly referred to as a roadmap sometimes for all these projects. We can look into cost information, what's my budget versus my actual cost and what's remaining, so on and so forth for all these projects. We can even see costs over time, budget versus actual, say here by quarter. And again, most of these reports are drill-in capable, so if I come here and I click on quarter 4, it will drill in and then show me October, November, December, and I could even drill in again all the way down to the daily level if we're tracking to that level of detail. And so the power here is that we can start at a very high level and understand how all these projects are doing that we've been tracking in Dynamics 365 without having to do manual work to export out data and try to pull things together and build manual reports and spend a lot of time, effort, and dollars to do that. We have these reports auto-generated with the latest data as people update it. And we can go all the way from a high-level executive view all the way down into cost by day very quickly if we choose to do so. And so again, I won't go through all the different tabs here, but you can start to see we can do these things with work. We can look at rolled up issues across these different projects that are coming out of that project status page I showed you earlier, so on and so forth, and really get visibility into everything that's going on. So real quick, just a couple more things from a PPM perspective. That was really the professional services flow. If you're a services organization that's delivering projects to your customers, that's a flow that shows how that can be done. If we're doing more like internal projects, whether they're IT projects or marketing projects or whatever it might be, many of those things still apply. As you can imagine, you're still going to do resource management. You still might track time, all the, status on those different projects. You still might build budgets, right? All those things still apply. The only difference really is these projects may, instead of coming from an opportunity, may start out as more of a project request, which we can capture in the system. And then you may utilize the portfolio analysis capability here within Dynamics. There's this prioritize option that I could use that allows me to do some portfolio analysis to not just do all the projects that we put in, but figure out which ones are going to give us the most bang for the buck. You can do some financial as well as resource analysis to say, all right, what's the right mix of projects we should do to get the most value, for my organization. So there's a couple of different things there on the intake side and how a project starts, but beyond that, everything really is the same. You could even use the invoicing capabilities for chargebacks, which happens a lot of times, especially for an IT PPM use case, chargebacks to other parts of the organization. We've seen that utilized a lot. Also, if these are, say, agile projects, and I want to, instead of managing this project in a waterfall way, I want to manage it in an agile way, I might even be using another tool like Visual Studio Team Services, which is the cloud version of Team Foundation Server or TFS, or other agile tools like Jira or version 1, etc. Then what we can do is we can select that project here, and instead of opening it up in the online planner that I showed you or in Microsoft Project, I can click on VSTS on this little button here that we add in via our integration. And what that'll do is it'll pop me into Visual Studio Team Services. I can now build out my backlog of items, break out my epics into features, into user stories, down into tasks and bugs. I can then drag and drop to plan those items into different sprints or iterations. and I can use my Kanban board to update the status of those items by dragging and dropping from one status to the next, right? As I do that, all of that information will automatically flow back into Dynamics 365, so we can still get those rolled up views of all of the different what was I going to say? Sorry about that. Looks like I got a little error there. Of all of the different resource work that you're working on, whether it's waterfall work, whether it's agile work, so on and so forth. The time, if you were to track time over in Dynamics 365, that's all going to, or in VSTS, that'll all roll back into Dynamics 365. So Dynamics 365 becomes the one place that you're going to go to see all of that all rolling up together. So I have one view of all of my projects and the status of all of those. So from there, if I'm more of an executive, last thing I'll show here, as you know, all of that's rolling back together, and it could be not just my services projects, but also my IT projects, my marketing projects, you know, any of the different projects that you might be managing with your organization. You can roll those all together into one particular report or dashboard, and now when you have executives and such coming in, they don't even have to necessarily go to Dynamics 365. They could come over to Power BI, and within Power BI, there are lots of great reporting capabilities, which we're powering those reports that we saw earlier, and there's mobile apps for this so that you can view these on your phone and on your tablet, and you know, all kinds of great features that I won't get into today, but feel free to check out our Power BI webinars or reporting webinars if you have a chance. But one of the really cool things here is if I'm looking to do a little bit of ad hoc reporting, and I'm not the most technical person in the world, let's say I'm more of a business user, I can come to one of these dashboards and all of the data is here. I just want to see it in a different way. I want to build a report based off of this data. Instead of having to put in X's and Y's and, you know, all these different values like you traditionally would do in writing queries and all that, I can just come in and I can ask a question. Very similar to like I would do a Google search or a Bing search, like a web search. And so let's say I want to show, oops. We'll go back here. Let's say I want to show average, and notice as I'm typing it kind of changes below and it's starting to figure things out for me, and it also suggests different fields for me so I don't have to kind of know the names of fields and such. It's going to help me out. But I want to show average. Let's do work variance by project. How about we do that? So I've now just typed in this question, and based off of what I typed in, which only took me a few seconds to do so, it didn't just go and find a report that already exists. It actually created this based off of what I typed in. It's showing the average work variance by project. From there, I can change it. I can go, you know what, actually I want that to be a column chart, change it to a column chart, or I want it to be a pie chart. You know, now it's a pie chart just by typing in pie. Or I want it to be a list view. I can switch it to a list view, right? So very quickly, very easily, I can come in and I can get the report the way I want it, and then I just hit my pin button up here on the right, and that will pin it back to my dashboard, and from that point on, I can now have that new report that I just created without having to call IT and get a developer and, you know, wait a month and all those different types of things. If you want to get fancier, there's some tools over here that allow you to then add things like conditional formatting and drill-ins. But if you're just looking for a very simple report, that can be a really quick, easy way to get that. So again, won't go too much into Power BI today, but hopefully you can see how all of that great information that we're tracking in Dynamics 365, we can have it flow all into these different great reports and dashboards that we have out of the box for you to take advantage of. From there, we can tweak those reports, we can create more, so on and so forth, and you can get visibility into all of your projects going on, not just your services, but also, say, IT projects, marketing, etc., all rolled up together, and then the resources involved in that work and the time spent on that work, the costs, etc., all rolled up all together into these different reports. So with that, I'm going to turn it back on over to Jim for just a couple more slides, and then we'll let you guys go for the day. So there you go, Jim.
All right. Well, thank you, Matthew. Let's summarize a little bit what we've heard today as we're getting near the top of the hour. And with that, let's talk about, you know, why we'd want to do this. We look at the whole platform of Microsoft Dynamics 365, and we just demonstrated just, you know, so just a slice of what's available in that platform. But the key here is that you can leverage what you already own. People are migrating quickly to Office 365 and doing things in Dynamics 365 as well on the Microsoft platform. So really extending that value and leveraging what you already own is about getting value and saving money. Also use what your team already knows and reduce adoption risk by the familiarity of Office 365 and a lot of the other Microsoft platform tools. The ability for your users to adopt and you have a successful deployment, the adoption risk is much lower with familiar tools and platforms instead of using foreign platforms and applications. Also, you can increase the value of your current investment in Microsoft. If you're using Office 365 already, if you might be using, say, CRM, those types of things in the Dynamics 365 platform, you can maximize the benefit of a decision you've already made and just get increasingly more value out of that decision. Also, if you have a common IT platform for development and customization, as we talked about this adaptable platform, your IT folks internally, even though this is cloud, as you transform this into something that's specific for your organization and for your industry, you can use the skills you already have internally and not have to bring in new technologies and new skills that you're not proficient with or have in-house. Also, because it's such a broad solution that can actually tackle things from end to end across the enterprise, you really do have a justification and an opportunity to retire multiple solutions that you're using to do different point things and that you're maintaining and spending maintenance dollars on and upgrade dollars on, things that can be handled in one solution. Ultimately, this can be a great cost savings and simplification. Oftentimes, we've had customers start with the point solution or a couple point solutions and justify it based on just not paying the annual maintenance on something that they're already doing today and bringing it all into a common platform. From a next steps perspective, I would just say we as an organization, Tivity, we focus and specialize in project portfolio and just overall work management solutions. And all the things that you saw today, we do that and more to help organizations become more effective. We offer free assessments and roadmaps of how we could get you into a solution like this at no charge to you and invest the time and effort in exploring that with you. And we can even help you with a free trial of this solution and actually give you kind of a concierge handheld type of trial to support you through that as you explore how this might fit for your business. Or if you want a deeper dive or a one-on-one demo of something similar to what you saw today in your organization, let us know at info@tivity.com and we're happy to schedule something personalized for you as well. You can go to tivity.com, or for general information about Tivity, you can go to tivity.com/webinars. Matthew referred to the fact that we have other webinars that are on demand and pre-recorded up there in other dimensions of this tool and others in the project and work management realm, including the Power BI and Insights piece. And then we also have a special URL for project-service.com specifically for this point solution. You can always feel free to reach out to me directly at Jim Patterson, jpatterson@tivity.com, or just info@tivity.com if you have some questions or some requests that we can fulfill. I would say this, people are jumping on this train. Just briefly, we do have a large aerospace and defense company that is using multiple dimensions of this, from the marketing piece up front to using the opportunity management, even doing the prioritization of those opportunities to determine what it is that they should be actually bidding on in these large aerospace and defense contracts, and then using the tool sets to manage and execute on the projects from an engineering perspective. There's people that are using all these aspects tied together and getting those synergies and the values out of this on an ever-increasing basis. So with that, I would just like to say thank you for joining and spending an hour with us today. We just really did give you the high-level Cook's tour on this, and if you'd like to learn more, just let us know. We will be compiling the recording from today, and we'll be sending that out and to everybody that registered for this, so you'll get this as well if you'd like to disseminate that within your organization. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you from Matthew and myself and from Tivity, and we hope to engage with you in the future. Have a great day.